Hello folks, welcome to the canal channel Jose. Today we're going to give you an idea how to replace the rear brake shoes on a 91 to 99 Toyota Tercel or a 92 to 99 Toyota Paseo. And these are, like we said, drum brake systems. We're going to show you a little bit how it's done, so that way you don't have to take it to shops and you can save a lot of money. With that said, let's jump right into it. Now that we have removed the wheel, what we have to do is we have to remove the drum, and for that we have to remove this cover to take the locking devices that hold the drum against the spindle, because there's a nut that holds this whole structure against the spindle, so we can uncover the brake shoes and we can replace it. So now we have to remove this cutter pin so we can remove this locking device that keeps the nut from spinning off and loosening itself. So that way we can take the nut off, but we start with the locking cutter pin. So now that we remove all the locking mechanism that keep this nut from spinning, we're going to be using a 22mm socket to take that nut off. We can take off the emergency brake off so we can slide this off. Otherwise, you'll be fighting this, tapping it, and the brake is engaged, and you're not going to be able to take it off. So we take the brake off and then slide the drum off. So now what you would have is a washer and a bearing, which is the outer bearing, and you pull them off. And if you don't have this washer, I would recommend to put it on, because this prevents friction between the real nut and the bearing as well. So we put them on a safe place. That way we can put them back in once we put the new brakes. Before I start taking components apart, what I do is I clean this grease off so I don't get it all over the place, and then I spray brake cleaner around so I can clean all these components, so I can don't have all the dust flying around while I'm taking all these little springs and stuff off, because we can start breathing that kind of stuff. So we don't want to do that. So we want to clean it before we start working on it. So now that we have cleaned the area, we're gonna compare what we have in there to what we're putting in, so to make sure that the brakes that we're putting in are gonna fit. So now that we have done that, we can start taking components off. So now to start removing the brake shoes, what we have to do is we have to remove this clip that holds this bar against the bottom. So we gotta pop it. So now to get this bar off of this brake shoes, we have to push it outwards and then pull it towards you. So you pull it back or you push it forward and then you pull it out, because that has a groove that falls right in here. So that's keeping tension. That's pressurizing the brake shoes inwards. So we gotta take this one and this one off. So now to take the brake shoes off, we have to remove this clip, this securing point, and this securing point, because that's holding everything against the back plate. So now we have the brake shoe, the front one is loose. So what we're going to be doing is we take it out from the top, and there's a spring attaching the bottom two brake shoes. So once we slide it off, we'll bring it over to this side so it loses the tension and we can unhook it from the brake shoe. Now that we have taken off our front brake shoe, we take the adjustment off of the brake shoe for in the back. So now we can remove our rear brake shoe off, and it has half of the adjustment on it, and it has the wire, the cable for the e-brake attached to it, so we can unattach the e-brake. So at this point, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using our wire brush to clean this area, so when we put the new brake stuff in, the new brake shoes, all that stuff that is about to fall off doesn't fall in and then start getting between the brake shoes and the drum. Now we have to transfer this plate to the new brake shoe, and to do that we're going to remove the e-brake cable from this plate, because we have to take this pin out of here, this securing point off of here, so we can transfer this plate to the new brake shoe. So we'll take it out from here so we can work outside easier. So now we just sand down a little bit of the rough surface on this brake shoe so we can get it ready to be installed. So now we have our brake shoe that we're taking off and the new one, and we got to transfer all this plate to the new one, and all that slides into this rod right here. We have to remove that clip right there to be able to slide everything off, and then we can take the spring off of here where it keeps everything tucked towards the brake shoe. So first we remove the clip. Now that we have removed the clip from the other side, we remove the spring. So now that we took the spring off, what we do is we take the plate off of here with the spring, so we can slide the half of the adjustment off, because that's hugging this plate. So once we do that, we expose another clip that we have to take off as well. So now that you took off that little clip off, you can slide the plate off of that brake shoe and put it on the new brake shoe. The set of new brake shoes might have these clips, so you can use new clips, but otherwise, if you don't have these, you might have to reuse the old ones that you had in there, so don't damage them. So now that we have transferred the plate and we have put the clip on, we can put half of the adjustment here and then put the other plate over it. Now that you have put the plate over with the spring, that spring attaches right there. Now that we have put everything together, we just gotta put this clip over it and make sure it falls in the groove. So now that we have this together, we put the e-brake cable back into its place where it needs to go. So now we gotta put the clip and tie this down to the backing plate so it doesn't move around, so we can start continuing with the front brake shoe. So now we just sand down a little bit of brake shoe. We put the spring on the bottom and we attach it to the other brake shoe on the other side, and then we let it hang, and we put the adjustment in there so we can start then putting the brake shoe in there and guide it, and then we can put the tie down point. So now what we can do is we can start putting our brake shoe back in place, so we can tie it down like this other brake shoe with a clip, and then we can guide it into this area here to the piston and to the adjustment of the brakes. So now what we have to do is we put our tensioner in, which is a bar, pretty much a U shape, and it goes right into there, into this, and then it clips down into the bottom. So now we have the new brake shoes in the back. So now what we have to do is we have to adjustment with the drum in so we can start putting everything back on. So now that we're done replacing the brake shoes and adjusted them a little bit, we can grease up the spindle a little bit and then grease up where the bearings go and put everything back together. Now that the bearing is in there greased up, we put the washer in the outside. Now we put the nut and we tighten it a little bit. Now that we have put the nut and tighten it, just snug it, we put the locking nut so it doesn't come off loose. And now we put the cutter pin through. And now we just put the cover back on. And the reason for this cover is because we don't want water and dust and all the contaminants to get in the area where the bearing is. So when you remove your drum, you might have all these dust like that in there. So that's going to affect the performance of the brake shoes as well. That's why we clean them out. So now we're going to undo this clip from the bottom that's holding this tensioner. And then we're going to pull it out so then we can slide it towards us. Now we remove this clip. So now we can pull this brake shoe off and then we can undo it from the spring that goes right down here. So now we can undo our brake shoe by taking this clip off. Now we can undo this brake shoe from the wire that goes to the e-brake from right here. So now that we took our brake shoe off, what we do is we take off this clip here off and then this spring off of here so we can get this plate off of here and then this half of the adjuster off. So now we have this clip right here that we have to split and take out so we can transfer this plate to the new brake shoe. Now that we have removed this brake shoe from the plate, we put it onto the new brake shoe because we had this was securing that from coming off. So now we put half of the adjustment right in here like this, and then we can put the plate over it with the spring. So now that we have put the half of the adjuster with a plate over it and the spring is there, we put the clip that goes right here. Now that we have put the clip on, this plate is over. Now the spring is like this, and then it goes and it's gonna be hooked into that hole right there. So now we have done that, and we're gonna sand this brake shoe because you see all that little high points like a little debris that's gonna affect what we're trying to do the adjustment. So we sand it down and smooth it out a little bit. So now as you can see, it's a smoother surface, so it's less debris in there. Now that we have the brake shoe with the e-brake plate on it, we connected it to the cable and then we secure it towards the backing plate. So now we can secure the brake shoe to the structure by installing the pin. with the springs and the washers, locking mechanism. So one thing that you want to make sure is that this right here where the piston is, it has a groove, it's vertical, so then the brake shoe falls right into it and it guides, and then that is in here behind this plate. So that way it does not crooked, and then you don't have you're gonna have problems putting the brake system back together, because then what's going on? And then if you don't catch that right now, then you have everything together and then it's crooked. So you gotta verify that as you put it in. So now we're gonna put our adjustment in, and this guy, we're gonna close it about that much. And this is where the front brake shoe falls in as it guides in, as it goes into it. That's the groove that goes into. And then this point goes right towards the back into that. So we're gonna grease up this so there's no friction and it can move freely if it needs to turn and adjust itself. One thing we want to say is that if you're adding grease to here, this point is because it moves around, you don't want to do that. You just want to add grease to this point and that's it. Because if that other grease gets between your brake shoe and your drum, your car is going to have some hard time braking and it's not even going to do the job. So just add grease to that point and it's just a little bit. Now we sand down the surface on this brake shoe so we get it ready for installation. So now we can put our brake shoe, guide it, and put the securing point to it. And this is a groove on the piston that you gotta guide the brake shoe in when it's sitting in there, like this. So now we put the spring, the bottom spring, hook it into this brake shoe, hook it onto the other one, we pull it through the bottom, and then set the brake shoe in there. Now we can put a tie down point. We have to put our tensioner that pulls the brake shoes inwards, and at the same time we have to guide the adjustment into the front brake shoe. So once we're doing that, there's a groove that is going to fall into the brake shoe right here, and then right here, and then we put it on one and we start pulling it away so we can hook it up into the other one. And remember, it's going to pull them together. You want to be able to guide your adjustment in there. So now this sheet metal hooks into the back to this bottom piece. So now we have added some grease to the spindle, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing initial adjustment so we can start putting the drum on. And as you can see, that's where we adjust the brakes so they can open, and then the drum can sit right in there. So the final adjustment is going to be with the drum on and the wheel on so we can get it through the back where it needs to be adjusted. But for now, we're just going to do the initial. So now we have got to the point where is the basic adjustment. And now we're gonna put the outer bearing and the locking nut and then start putting everything back together. Now we just give it a snug to the nut so it keeps everything on place. Now we put the locking nut to the regular nut so it doesn't loosen. Now we put the cotter pin so everything stays in place. And now we just put the cover on. And well, folks, we have replaced the brake shoes now. So we are going to be putting the wheel on, and then we're going to be doing the final adjustment once we have the tire on. Well, folks, hopefully this video was useful on how to replace the rear brake shoes on a 91 to 99 Toyota Tercel or 92 to 99 Toyota Paseo. And one thing about this is that you want to take your time while you're doing this job, so that way everything comes off easy and it goes in easy. So if you don't know how one side is put together, don't take both sides apart, so that way you can have another side as a reference. Another thing, if you want to replace the bearings, this is when you do it, because you're going to be greasing or ungreasing stuff at this point as well. So with that said, folks, for our friends who are watching the video, haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. If you like our video, give us thumbs up, share it, and we'll see you soon with more videos here in the canal de Chano Jose.